Here is a truth that, once realized, will shatter the illusion of your daily existence. It is something worth noticing, something worth pausing your entire life to understand. Most of the suffering you endure, the heaviness that crushes your chest at 3 a.m., the anxiety that tightens your throat in a quiet room, does not come from the world outside. It does not come from the disasters, the losses, or the tragedies that actually befall you. It comes from you. It comes from the machinery of your own mind. It comes from how you respond to what happens. Consider the fragility of your peace. A single comment from a stranger, a collection of sound waves moving through the air, can penetrate your psyche and bother you for days. A memory from 10 years ago, a ghost of a moment long dead, can rise up from the depths and sting you with such visceral sharpness that it feels as if it happened this very morning. A worry about a future that has not happened and likely never will happen can keep you awake, staring into the darkness, terrified of phantoms. Why is this our reality? Why are we the architects of our own hell? It is because there is a mechanism inside us, an ancient biological program that reacts. It reacts automatically, blindly, and often before we even possess the conscious awareness to realize we have been triggered. And that reaction, that split, second convulsion of the spirit, creates a second layer of pain. It deposits a heavy, suffocating sediment on top of whatever triggered it. Over 2,600 years ago, a man who would come to be known as the Bud observed this pattern with the precision of a master surgeon. He looked into the human condition and saw the gears turning. He saw that we are powerless to control the chaos of the world. We cannot command the weather, the economy, or the tongues of others. But he saw that we possess a dormant superpower. We can learn to change how we respond. This is not about suppression. This is not the brittle toughness of pretending everything is fine while you rot from the inside. This is about a radical shift in consciousness. It is about learning to observe what arises in the mind clearly, calmly, like a mountain watching a storm, without being swept away by the flood. So, let us begin where most of us find ourselves lost, caught in patterns we did not choose, acting out scripts written by ghosts. To understand your prison, you must understand its architect. Thousands of years ago, your ancestors survived not because they were happy, but because they were paranoid. They survived because their brains were tuned to react instantly to danger. A rustling in the dry grass was not a curiosity, it was a death sentence. Before they even knew what was happening, their heart was a drum of war. Their muscles were steel cables. Their body was flooded with chemicals, ready to fight for life or flee into the safety of the caves. This survival response is encoded in the deepest, oldest bedrock of your brain, the amygdala. The ancestors who hesitated, who paused to contemplate the beauty of the tiger, did not survive. Their lineage ended. The ones who reacted fast, the ones who panicked, the ones who struck first, they survived. And here you are. You are their descendant. You are the heir to their paranoia. You are carrying the same ancient wiring, the same alarm system designed for a world of predators. But look around you. The world has changed. The tigers are gone. The savanna is paved. Yet the alarm system remains. It is still humming in the background, scanning, searching, desperate to find a threat. And because there are no predators, it turns its terrible gaze upon your daily life. It responds to perceived threats. An unpleasant email becomes a saber-toothed cat. A painful memory becomes an ambush. A criticism from a boss becomes a lethal blow. The psychologist Daniel Goleman calls this the Amygdala Hijack. It is a coup d'etat of the soul. It is the moment when the emotional brain seizes the controls from the rational brain, locking the pilot out of the cockpit. In that moment, you are not a conscious being choosing your destiny. You are a biological puppet. You are simply reacting. Let me paint you a picture of this tragedy. You are at your workplace. The air is conditioned. The lights are humming. A colleague makes a comment about your project. It is not an insult. It is not a declaration of war. It is merely an observation. But something in the tone, or perhaps something buried deep in your own history of insecurity, pulls the trigger. The ancient machinery roars to life. Before you know it, your jaw tightens. Your stomach churns with acid. Your mind starts racing, constructing a fortress of defensive thoughts. You spend the next hour, then the next day, replaying the conversation. You prosecute this person in the court of your mind, building a case against them, drafting speeches you will never deliver. By evening, you are exhausted, carrying a mountain of stress into your home. What actually happened in reality? A few words. Sound waves vibrating in the air for 3 seconds. That is all. But your mind turned those sound waves into a battlefield, and you have been fighting a war that exists nowhere but inside your own skull. This is where the Buddhist teaching ceases to be philosophy and becomes an urgent antidote. In a discourse called the Sallatha Sutta, he used an image that cuts straight to the heart of the matter, an image of brutal clarity. He said, when an ordinary person, one who has not trained the mind, is touched by a painful feeling, they sorrow, they grieve, they lament. They weep and beat their breast. They become distraught. They feel two kinds of feeling, one in the body and one in the mind. It is as if a man were pierced by a sharp arrow. And then, while he is bleeding, he is immediately pierced by a second arrow, right into the same wound. This person feels the pain of 2 arrows. The first arrow is the painful feeling itself. It is the initial sting of a difficult experience. This arrow is often unavoidable. It is the tax of being alive. Life brings pain. Bodies decay and get sick. Relationships shatter. People say hurtful things. Loss is woven into the fabric of existence. This is the first arrow, and no one, not even a king, not even a sage, escapes it entirely. The Buddha never promised a fantasy life without difficulty. Even he experienced the frailty of the body, the criticism of rivals, the death of friends. But the second arrow is different. The second arrow is the one we hold in our own hands. The second arrow is what we add to the experience. It is the resistance. It is the outrage. It is the screaming voice that asks, why me? It is the endless replaying of the trauma. It is the projection of catastrophe into the future. The second arrow is not caused by the world. It is caused by the mind's rejection of the world. And here is the insight that changes everything, the key to the shackles. Most of our suffering does not come from the first arrow. We can endure the first arrow. We are built to endure pain. But we break under the weight of the second arrow, the arrow we shoot into ourselves. In Buddhist teaching, this is not just a psychological habit, it is a metaphysical shaping of reality. Every time you react with intention, whether through action, speech, or sustained thought, you leave a trace. You create what is called karma. The Buddha defined this with absolute precision in the Nibbidika Sutta. It is intention that I call karma. Having intended, one acts by body, speech, and mind. What this means is that each intentional reaction shapes the next one. It is like water flowing over rock. If you respond to frustration with anger today, you carve a groove for anger to flow more easily tomorrow. You strengthen the habit of rage. The grooves in the mind get deeper. The patterns become more automatic. Eventually, you become a slave to the pathways you have carved. This is not punishment from a vengeful universe. It is simply mechanics. It is how the mind works. Repetition creates tendency. And so, without realizing it, we build our own prisons, not out of stone, but out of habits. Out of reactions repeated so many times that they no longer feel like choices. They feel like just the way I am. But they are not who you are. They are patterns. They are code, and code can be rewritten. Patterns can be broken. The question is how? How do we stop a machine that has been running for millions of years? The key is something that has always been with you, though you may not have recognized its power. It is not a weapon you need to acquire from a distant mountain top. It is a capacity that exists within every human being right now in this very breath. It is the capacity to be aware. In the Buddhist tradition, this capacity is called Sati, which we usually translate as mindfulness. But mindfulness is too soft a word for this power. The Pali word comes from a root meaning to remember or to keep in mind. But it does not mean remembering the past. It means remembering to be present. It means remembering to stand guard at the gates of your senses. It means keeping in mind what is wholesome, what leads away from the darkness, so that you do not fall into the abyss of unskillful patterns. In one of the most important discourses in the Buddhist canon, the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha made a claim so bold it demands our attention. He said, "Monks, this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbana, namely, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the direct path, not a detour, not a theory, the direct path out of hell." So, what are these 4 foundations? They are 4 domains of experience that we can learn to observe with the clarity of a high-definition camera. The first is the body, awareness of the breath, of posture, of physical sensations. Consider how rarely we actually inhabit our own skin. Most of the time, we are so caught up in the hologram of our thoughts that we are barely aware we have a body at all until it screams in pain. To return to the body is to return to reality. The second is feeling. This is not emotion in the complex sense, but the basic quality of pleasantness, unpleasantness, or neutrality that accompanies every single nanosecond of experience. Every moment has a flavor. You see a face pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. A thought arises pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Most of the time, this happens in the dark, below the threshold of awareness. But with practice, you can learn to see these sparks before they become fires. The third is the mind itself, the quality of the mental atmosphere in any given moment. Is there greed present? Is there aversion? Is there confusion? Or is there clarity? This is not about judging yourself as a sinner or a saint. It is simply about knowing the weather. There is a storm of anger right now. There is a fog of doubt. The fourth is mental phenomena. The patterns and processes, the hindrances that obstruct clarity, and the factors that support awakening. It is seeing the laws of nature operating within your own psychology. And here is the crucial instruction that the Buddha repeated like a mantra throughout this discourse. One abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. This is the heart of the practice. This is the sword that cuts the chain. You observe what is happening, but you do not grasp at the pleasant, trying to suffocate it with your need. You do not push away the unpleasant, trying to war against reality. You simply see. You simply know. This kind of observation is not tense. It is not the staring of a predator. It is relaxed, open, vast. It is like watching clouds move across an infinite sky. You see the storm clouds. You see the white, puffy clouds, but you do not try to grab them, and you do not scream at the sky for raining. Let me ground this in the grid of your daily life. You are sitting in traffic. You are already late. The car in front of you is moving with impossible slowness. You feel the irritation rising in your chest like magma. In the old pattern, the unconscious pattern, you would be consumed by it. You would become the irritation. Thoughts would cascade like a landslide. Why is this happening? I'm going to be late. This is so unfair. This city is impossible. The irritation would grow into frustration, then into rage. You are shooting yourself with 1,000 arrows. But with mindfulness, a new timeline opens. You notice the tightness in your chest. You notice the heat rising in your neck. You notice the thought, this shouldn't be happening. And in that noticing, there is a shift. It is subtle, but it is revolutionary. You are no longer lost in the irritation. You are looking at the irritation. You have stepped out of the river and onto the bank. There is space. Research in modern neuroscience has validated this as ancient wisdom. They found that when people learn to label their emotions, to say internally, this is anger, or that this fear, it physically alters the brain state. It is associated with decreased activity in the amygdala and increased activity in the prefrontal cortex. The emotional brain calms down. The thinking brain, the sovereign, comes back online. But the Buddha's teaching goes deeper than biology. When you observe with mindfulness, you see not only the emotion, but its true nature and permanence. You see that this rage arose because of certain conditions. It will pass when those conditions change. It is not solid. It is not a block of concrete. It is a wave. It is not permanent. And most importantly, it is not you. In the Pali teachings, mindfulness is often paired with another quality called sampajana, clear comprehension. This means not just being aware like a camera, but understanding with the wisdom of a sage. It means knowing whether an impulse is beneficial or harmful. It means knowing what is appropriate. Awareness without wisdom is incomplete. The two work together like the wings of a bird. The Buddha did not simply say, "Be mindful and good luck." He provided a detailed map of the trap. He showed us exactly how experience unfolds, frame by frame, so that we can see exactly where the suffering arises and where we can intervene. This map is called Padikasamuppada, dependent origination. For practical purposes, the most critical sequence, the place where the battle is won or lost, is this: contact leads to feeling. Feeling leads to craving, and craving leads to suffering. Let us slow this down to bullet time. Contact happens whenever a sense organ meets an object and consciousness arises. Your eye meets a form, seeing happens. Your ear meets a sound, hearing happens. Your mind meets a thought, thinking happens. From contact, feeling arises that basic sense of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. This is automatic. You do not choose it. It is the result of past karma and biology. And now comes the critical moment, the flashpoint. In the untrained mind, feeling almost immediately, faster than a lightning strike, gives rise to craving. A pleasant feeling arises, and the mind lurches forward. I want more of this. I must possess this. An unpleasant feeling arises, and the mind recoils in horror. I don't want this. Get this away from me. This craving tanha, which literally means thirst, is the engine that drives the second arrow. It is the thirst that can never be quenched. But between feeling and craving, there is a microscopic gap. There is a possibility for intervention. This is not a physical gap that exists by itself. It is a capacity created by mindfulness and wisdom. The more you train, the more you can dilate this gap. The more you can see this process as it unfolds, and the less automatically you are swept into the machinery of craving. This process from contact to feeling to craving happens with terrifying speed. In an untrained mind, it seems instantaneous, as if feeling and craving are the same thing. They are not. But seeing the difference requires the eyes of a hawk. This is why the Buddha emphasized training. You cannot just understand this intellectually. You must train for it like a warrior trains for combat. Let me give you an example. Someone criticizes your work in a meeting. Contact, the words hit your ears. Immediately, an unpleasant feeling arises in the body. Maybe a tightness in the stomach, a flush of heat in the face. This is the first arrow. It is natural. It is conditioned. In the untrained mind, craving follows instantly. This shouldn't happen. They should respect me. I need to defend myself. The ego screams. And from there, the cascade begins. The war starts. But with training, something else becomes possible. You feel the unpleasant sensation. You feel the heat. You recognize it. Unpleasant feeling is present. You notice the pull, the magnetic drag toward reaction. And in that recognition, you have a choice, a divine choice. You can follow the old pattern down into the mud, or you can let it pass. You can watch the wave crest and break without drowning in it. So how do we train this capacity? How do we build this muscle? The Buddha provided a systematic method in the Anapanasati Sutta mindfulness of breathing. He said, breathing in long, one knows, I am breathing in long. Breathing out long, one knows, I am breathing out long. Breathing in short, one knows, I am breathing in short. Breathing out short, one knows, I am breathing out short. This sounds simple, deceptively simple, but do not be fooled. Each time you return your attention to the breath, you are doing a rep in the gym of the mind. You are practicing the skill of not being swept away. A thought arises. Instead of following it down the rabbit hole, you notice and return. An emotion arises. Instead of being consumed, you acknowledge and return. You are training the capacity to pause. You are claiming your sovereignty. This is the core practice. Everything else builds on this foundation. There is a fear that many people have when they first encounter these teachings. It is the fear of becoming a zombie, the fear of becoming empty, of losing passion, of becoming detached from life in a way that is cold and inhuman. This fear is understandable, but is based on a profound misunderstanding. In the Buddha's teaching, the quality of balanced, non-reactive awareness is called upekkha, equanimity. This word is sometimes mistranslated as indifference, but in the classical tradition, indifference is actually considered the near enemy of equanimity. It is an imposter. It looks similar on the surface. Both are calm, but they are fundamentally different in nature. Indifference is cold. Indifference is a withdrawal. It is I don't care. It is a turning away from life because life is too much. Equanimity is warm. It is radiant. It is a turning toward life with total stability and clarity. The Pali word upekkha suggests looking on or overseeing, seeing with a wide, balanced perspective, like a king looking over his kingdom. Not getting lost in every petty dispute. It is not that you stop feeling. It is that you are not thrown off balance by what you feel. You can feel grief without collapsing. You can feel joy without becoming manic. You can feel pain without becoming a victim. And upekkha does not stand alone. In the Buddha's teaching, it is one of the 4 Brahmaviharas, the 4 boundless states of heart. Metta-loving kindness, the genuine wish for all beings to be happy. Karuna compassion, the heart that quivers in response to suffering with the wish for it to end. Mudita sympathetic joy, the ability to rejoice in the happiness of others. And upekkha equanimity, the vast stability that allows the other 3 to function without burning out. These 4 go together like the elements. A person who practices correctly is not someone who no longer feels. It is someone who feels more clearly, more deeply, but is not destroyed by the intensity. Equanimity also supports wise action. Think about it. When you are not caught in reaction, you can see a situation with crystalline clarity. You can respond in ways that are actually helpful rather than ways that just discharge your own discomfort. A parent who can stay calm when a child screaming is more useful than one who joins the chaos. A friend who can listen to your tragedy without immediately trying to fix it because of their own anxiety is the friend you need. This is equanimity in action. It is power. Think about what happens when you are caught in reaction. Someone is talking to you, but you are not really listening. You are rehearsing your response. You are defending against what you imagine they might say. You are locked in a simulation. You are not actually seeing them. But when the mind is still, when the waters are calm, something different becomes possible. You can actually see the person in front of you. You can hear what they are really saying beneath the words. You can meet them without projecting your own story onto their face. Here is the practice, distilled into 3 steps you can use in any moment, on any battlefield. Step 1 and notice. Something is happening in your experience. A sensation, a feeling, a pull toward reaction. Do not think about it. Simply notice it. This is happening. Step 2, name. Gently acknowledge what is present. Give it a label: unpleasant feeling, tightness, irritation, fear. Not analyzing why it is there, not psychoanalyzing your childhood. Just naming. Naming it breaks the spell. Step 3, return. Come back to the body, to the breath, to the sensations of your feet on the floor, to the present moment. Let the reaction pass through you like wind through a screen door. Do not slam the door. Just let it pass. This is not something you master once and then retire. It is a practice for life. It is a discipline. There will be days when you react before you even notice. There will be days when you scream, when you cry, when mindfulness feels like a distant memory. That is all right. That is part of the path. Each moment of awareness is a new beginning. The moment you realize you have been lost, that very realization is mindfulness returning. You have already won. Even small moments count. A single moment of clear seeing in the middle of a reactive, chaotic day is not nothing. It is a victory. It is a crack in the prison wall. It is practice. It is the path. This path requires patience, with yourself, with the messy process of being human, with the slow unfolding of transformation over years. This path requires diligence, the willingness to stand back up, to return to practice again and again, 10,000 times. And this path does lead to freedom. Not a metaphorical freedom, but a real, tangible freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of automatic reactions. Freedom from the prison of habit. Freedom to live fully, to feel deeply, and to love without fear. The Buddha himself, at the end of his life, looked at his disciples and gave them this final instruction, a challenge that rings across the centuries. You yourselves must strive. The Tathagatas, the awakened ones, only point the way. No teacher can do the work for you. No book can save you. No video can enlighten you. The path has been shown. The map is in your hands. But walking it, taking that next step, and the next, that is something only you can do. Each breath is an opportunity to begin. Each moment is a choice. Will you shoot the second arrow, or will you drop the bow?